And a week before, or 2 weeks before the AU summit in 1981, the chief of protocol had retired. Not retired, he had been appointed as permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education. So the President Moi appointed me as chief of protocol, just about 2 weeks before the AU summit in 1981. And I used to say to them, we have put me there like baptism by fire, because it was really hectic time. Because about nearly 30 heads of state visited here at that time.
The AU summit was held.
Yes, and each of them had to have a guard of honor when going and coming at the airport. It was very demanding, but we managed it somehow. So I served as chief of protocol here for 4 years and 4 months, because I had to count those 4 months, because Then afterwards, I was now posted to Geneva, United Nations office in Geneva, to open an embassy, a mission there, but as ambassador. As ambassador. So I went to Geneva with my family. We opened the embassy. They remained behind for about a month or 2 months before they joined us. And I opened the embassy and lived there for about 2 years or so, and was posted to New York, to Washington as ambassador. That was.
Let me. We really want to talk about the U.S. because it's a big moment. I mean, it's one of Kenya's largest trading.
Yes,
important global power.
Yeah.
But what would determine when Kenya would open ambition in any country? What are the factors that determine that? Because up to today, there are some countries where Kenya does not have ambition.
Yeah.
But what determines that we will now open in Saudi Arabia, will open in Cairo or in other countries?
Well, the interest between our two countries, our country and that country, where the interest dictate where you should have our mission. If a country, if you don't have very close economic cooperation, trade matters, and perhaps even our Kenyan nationals are also there, we also take care of the interests of our Kenyan nationals in that country. So there are a lot of issues which we consider our bilateral relations. Okay. So with for the beginning, right at the time of where we got independence, we posted our ambassador to this. There are about 7, 8 ambassadors who were appointed. We got independence, and one of them was posted to New York to handle the United Nations and U.S. But resident in New York. Okay. It lasted maybe about 3 years or 4 years before they now appointed a full-time ambassador for U.S. So that the one in New York can concentrate on the UN only. Yeah. So when I was posted to Washington in February 1988 as ambassador there. I presented credential to President Reagan. Served at the end of his term. It was a year later. Then served for 4 years under former President, the late George Bush, for 4 years. And then for 1 year, I also served under the presidency of Clinton, the administration of Clinton. Okay. Yes. So I was there for 6 years, yes. Yeah.
And so what is the work of can you describe to us maybe what your day would look like as an ambassador in Washington?
Well, yeah, as ambassador, you are representing your country in all areas, economic, political, you take care of the interests of the Kenyan nationals. It's wide, all the issues which, you are representing the country. You are also representing the head of state, by the way. As ambassador, you are also a personal representative of the president. That's why some countries, not Kenya, when the president leaves, you retire, you resign. And then the new one may appoint you, or appoint his own person he wants. And then of course, writing, we have sections in the defense. We have a defense attaché. We had a commercial attaché, we had the education person handling education matters. We had someone handling consular matters, visas, and so on. We had, all sections which require a lot of coordination. So as ambassador, you are really the coordinator of all those activities and providing leadership of what they are performing. You are the main contact with the government of the United States or the country you are representing. You are the spokesman for your country, and it requires. And then of course the interest of Kenya nationals there is very paramount. You have access to your nationals, assisting them where they can, and taking care of their interests where you can. So visiting them where they are living, some of them in the States, and in the US it's a big country. So you have to find a way of visiting them also where they are, so to get to know them better, and most of them coming back. I was lucky. I had and of course my wife and my children. They were also very active. They also had me, because my children were also out to meeting with other nationals. So they had a lot of friends. So they also helped me in a way, because they were also reaching out to the Kenya nationals also at the same time, making friends.
So they're almost deputy ambassadors.
Yes, yeah. So it was a very challenging position, because at that time when I went there, our former president Moi had visited the U.S. 1987, and the visit was not well received by our people, because the media started writing negative things about our president and the country on human rights matters. So it was a bit, what I would call a disastrous visit. So when I went there, I was now trying to undo the damage and also improve the relations. But the issues of human rights remained, and the issue of governance, of criticizing our governance with one-party system, remember those days. So it was very challenging. Yeah, it was challenging to defend Kenya, because you have to defend Kenya's position.
You have to say something good about it.
Yes, but fortunately we were able to do it in a manner which was acceptable. It was not a rough job, really. We didn't kind of disown our country according to what they're doing. We defended it, and in some cases we ended up also making friends of those who supported us at the same time. Not all Americans were against us, of course, naturally. Not all the leaders in the Congress were against Kenya. So we worked out to make friends with those who were against us, and so it was not easy. It was a bit tough at that time, yeah, because there was a lot of negative news about Kenya at that time from the U.S. media. But I managed to overcome some of them through contacts with those who are making those contacts, and so on. The story is long. I've written this in many times. I don't want to go into them, how we overcame that. But fortunately, as I said, I had officers who are handling lots of political officers, economic officers, defense, and all this. They really helped me in their own way. We worked as a team together, so that we can be able to protect, and promote Kenya's interests in that country. Yeah, so we did, and take care of our interests. So I left U.S. a happy person, because it was a very challenging position. I used to come, every time I used to come here, I would brief the president about the situation. And then, of course, before I leave, I see him, he briefed me what to do. It was very personal relations, yes, yeah, with the president. The president gave me a lot of support also. And the government, the Minister of Foreign Affairs back home here, gave me a lot of support. There are matters which I could advise, but if my advice not taken, then I accept that they had my bosses, isn't it? Yeah. Like the National Prayer Breakfast, where I said president should not come. I think you have read it in the map many times. And they told me, we are coming. So when they came, I was ready to receive them, and they made the visit quite successful also. So these are challenges which we had to go through in the U.S. So you may ask questions about yourself, because I can go on talking about my U.S. situation.
So in your in your time as a diplomat, let's say your time in Washington, representing Kenya in Washington, is there anything that stands out for you that maybe a happy moment, something that happened while you were Kenya's ambassador that is something good that we can all celebrate?
Well, there are many things actually, because in US we are also working with the World Bank, you know, and the IMF. So we're negotiating a lot of loans and support from US, from government. And then of course also the support from the US, from the USID. We got a lot of support from them during that time. Despite the problem of our governance, we got working closely with them. And then of course, on the issue of security matters. So I was just saying the issue of the kind of work we're doing during the Cold War period era. It was difficult. Yeah, it was difficult also because you were handling between the East and West, and we are non-aligned, but not so much non-aligned because we are viewed as being towards the West, but we are officially non-aligned. So it was not easy to balance that in some cases, but we managed it. And then of course, I mentioned earlier, the work involves a lot of dedication. In US, because of time difference, it's anything happening back home here. For example, if they have arrested somebody, like one time they would call me, tell me that can you tell your government to remove the policemen who are surrounding Paul Muite's office. They want to arrest him. So these kind of challenges. And then of course, when at home, back home at night, when I'm, time difference, they will call at about 2 a.m. When they are working here, their office, and tell us, we have had this from the US, can you sort out this point, issues and that and that. So you try to deal with it at that time. You wake up in the morning and you are already prepared to do this. It was challenging. But I was lucky, as I said, apart from my colleagues in the mission, the other diplomats, my wife was very supportive also. Okay. Because she also encouraged, she was very active with the other women group and the other leaders also. Particularly, I remember she had become a very close friend of Barbara Bush, the wife of the former late Barbara, Senior Bush rather, where she used to be invited among the few, maybe 4 or 5 African ambassadors' wives for tea. Okay. And then she would also meet out with other people. We used to have a lot of dinners, and particular dinners for Kenya nationals and for those whom I want to invite to our functions. Some of them at a short notice, I will call her that prepare, if I know the Kenyans from group who have come and I want to meet them at home. I avoided meeting them in the restaurant because it was expensive in the restaurant. And also it is more timely when you invite people at home. Yeah, you have more time, and they eat also the food which some of them will prefer than local food also. Because the cook was from home, who was cooking also local food also.
So when you go as an ambassador, you go with also your...
Yeah, they asked you to get a cook. Not necessarily the cook we are using. If you want the cook we are using here, if you had one, but you have to get somebody who is very conversant with the cook. Because I got somebody who had been a cook at I think Hilton Hotel, something like that. Yeah, so it was very very well. He was a professional cook. So I would call my wife that we are expecting about 8 people today for dinner. Please prepare it. We send out resources and so on. And she would do it without complaining. So it was a challenge for her also. And then unfortunately, our wives were not supposed to work as during that time. Maybe now they have changed. wives of ambassadors were not expected to work in the countries where they are accredited.
You mean like now take up jobs?
Yeah, pick up jobs unless they are doing voluntary work. Like my wife will do some voluntary work occasionally. So it was, she had to lose her job. She used to work with the UNESCO here. She had to lose her job because she was out for a long time. So it was a challenge, which we had to sacrifice our personal interest to serve our country. So you can go and ask me more questions because I can go on and on.
So did Barbara Bush come to your residence? Or
No, Papa didn't come to a residence. It is Mama used to go to they used to go meet somewhere at the White House.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So, let's see, what can you talk about? The time, how was communication between Washington and Nairobi? Were you still using telex, or was now?
Yes, they were using telex that time. We were still using telex.
Okay.
But later on, we improved. I was the first ambassador to use what was it? Not telex. It was another system which came up. It is now out of date now. What is it? I can't remember now.
Was it the fax machine?
Fax.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I was the first in our embassies to have a fax machine, and I informed all our embassies my fax number is this and that and that. So they asked me, how did you get it? I said I negotiated with the local. We had some what you call those who are supporting us in the U.S. I said now we are handcuffed with communication. Telex can't work. In fact, we need a fax machine. So I was the first one to get a fax. Later on, my colleague in New York was ahead of me in getting a mobile phone.
This is not the Kenyan ambassador to the US.
Yes, to New York. He got a mobile, and so we didn't have a mobile ourselves, mobile phone. So he was very proud of it. So he also managed to get a mobile also, mobile phone. But as I said, it was difficult to communicate at that time. Yeah, it was not easy. Even I don't know whether it was in Washington, or France, or Germany. It might have been Washington. Yeah, it was Washington. Even to get a number here on the phone, you have to go through the operator. And I had a phone in my home in Busia. So I would call the operator, the American operator, get me Mataos, and gave me the number. Of course, Mataos is my local village. This Mataos, this number. So then the operator, you have to go through the operator there, to the operator in Kenya, and then they connect you to the house. Now, so the operator in the US would now say, could you get Mataos, number this and that, Mataos city, number this and that. So I would then laugh. I say, why are you laughing? I said, no, forget about it. But the reason why we are laughing, my wife used to be standing with me one day. I wanted to see here Matao City, and Matao is a small marketplace. For the Americans, it was a city. So even communication by phone, it was difficult also. Yeah, things are much easier now, much easier. I always tell those young diplomats that in a better position now because the communication system is so easy, so convenient, and so on. We are using diplomatic bag to get our mail because this is the only way you could get your mail through. Those who are writing to me in Kenya will write the letters to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will put in the diplomatic bag, and then every week we get a bag every week, and the newspapers. We get newspapers for the whole week coming by diplomatic bag. But now they don't even need newspapers because they read now through the internet, isn't it? Yeah.
Online.
Yeah, online, yes. So things were busy. So when the newspapers come, that Monday, that whatever it was, we all want to read the papers also. Yeah. And of course, everybody wants to get, there's letters also. Yeah, so it was a bit difficult, the way things have changed much better now for those who are serving now.
For the current
Yes,
diplomats.
yeah.
That's good.
And of course, the other challenge I had was Robert Ouko's death. He came to New York, to Washington, for the National Prayer Breakfast, which, as I said earlier, I had advised against it because we were actually working on a proper visit of the president where we discussed bilateral matters, which to enhance our cooperation and relationship. But then the National Prayer Breakfast was only a breakfast where they will meet the head of state, the president of the country, or the president of US at the National Prayer Breakfast venue. And they don't have any bilateral meetings in the White House or so on. So I thought it was not likely, but they came anyway. And they had a very good, I invited many Kenyans from all over in the US, many Kenyans for a dinner, a banquet, a reception which they had at our house, at residence. And then they left. So when I learned that Ouko had disappeared after coming here, it was very sad for us. And then later on, of course, he passed on when they found the body. Just about a week after he had left US. It was one of the worst experiences one would went through. We had to open up our condolence book, and the photographs we were opening up, where those we took while he was there. So for a long time, I kept on explaining how the visit was, and so on and so on. So it was a sad moment for us, because Ouko had worked with Ouko for many years. He was a permanent secretary, minister, and then he left, and then he came back as a minister. So we had been together for many years. Yeah. So that is, but otherwise, my stay in Washington was a very, very fruitful experience for me. My two daughters, of course, remained there. They are married there. Her mother remained there, and then my other daughter, her younger sister, they remained there. They are married there, and so they are still there now.